Welcome in to Trucker Talk Radio. You're on Behind the Wheelhouse with J and J. I'm John. This is Justin. Every now and then we get somebody on this show who didn't just work in the industry. He helped build the rails the whole thing runs on. Our guest today is Tom McLeod, the founder, president, and CEO of McLeod Software out of Birmingham, Alabama. Now, here's the thing that gets me. Tom started this company back in 1985. I did not know that. That's 40 years ago. He saw deregulation opening the doors for hundreds of new trucking companies, and he said, somebody's got to build the software to run freight planning, billing, and driver payroll for these folks. And he did it. Today, McLeod serves over 1,200 companies across North America, north of 570 employees. And here's the part I respect most. It's still privately held, debt-free, no Wall Street, no venture capital, nobody outside calling the shots. If you've driven the interstate, you've seen that "Empowered by McLeod" slogan on the back of a lot of trailers. Tom, welcome to Behind the Wheelhouse. It's an honor to have you on, sir.
Well, thank you, John. I appreciate that, and great to be here.
Good deal. So I want to start from the beginning because 40 years is a heck of a run. Take us back to 1985. You were a young guy, not to say you're not now, but deregulation just blew the doors open, and you decided to bet on building software for an industry that, let's be honest, was running on paper and pencil. What did you see back then that made you go all in?
Well, my recommendation if you're going to do something for 40 years is start real young. I like to tell people I started, I was in third grade and needed something to do after school. But really, a friend of mine got me connected to the transportation industry. He had an idea for LTL freight rating that would have taken advantage of rate deregulation. But the LTL carriers were a little cautious at that point, trying to find their way.
Yeah.
And truckload carriers were opening up by the hundreds all over the place. So I just needed a job, frankly, looking for something useful to do that might have some good potential, growth potential over the years, and attached myself to the trucking industry. Started reading all the industry publications, working with customers. We just had some great early customers that kept us pushed in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And we were one of dozens of little companies that started up. It's almost like the little AI companies that are starting up right now, all over the place. You get two or three bright guys together, and they've got a company started. Thankfully, we had really bright people that did some really nice work based on the customer feedback we got.
Yeah, so early on, I want to talk, I just want to stop you for a second because 1985, my dad worked for an oil company and they were kind of cutting edge with computers. I remember it was probably like late 80s when I got access to actually a computer. What did McLeod look like on that computer screen?
Well, at that time, all computers were, character based, green screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they really were limited on the amount of data and the amount of processing power that you had to work with. One of the big multi-user 12 to 20 user computers we would install only had an 80 megabyte hard drive. Your desktops, you had a choice between the 5 megabyte drive or you wanted to go really big, go with the 10 megabyte drive. These days I get a little thumb drive that holds 230 gigabytes from the office supply store for a few dollars. It's just astounding. And that's one of the big differences is, these days, from a computer application standpoint, we just have so much more data to work with, so much more processing power. Back then, it was just basic steps. But at the same time, it was real productivity improvement. Those initial systems really saved a lot of time and a lot of the repetitive work and drudgery that went on, in a back office of that day.
I can only imagine working on one of those green screen Apple computers. I came from a very small town. I think it was 8 or 89 before we even got one computer, and our whole elementary school had to share it. And I was in like sixth grade at the time. And we got to go in and we played hangman. That was it. We each kid played hangman or one Oregon Trail. We didn't learn
Oregon
how to
Trail.
do anything on it. We didn't learn how to type or set our fingers right. It was you just got to play a game. So I can only imagine that early days of McLeod or any of these systems that are used now that I use daily and see it in that form. How many employees did you start with? Was it just you or just a couple of people or how did that look?
It was just a handful. We initially had 4 or 5 people. Really, I can remember a couple of milestones. It took us 7 years before we had 12 people on staff. And then we could really do a lot. We had programmers, we were doing support and training, obviously. And then by 85, we had 35 employees. So we had almost tripled there in just a 3-year period. But by 2000, we had 150 employees. The year 2000 problem, and everybody had to have a new computer during that period, really ran, I think, the whole economy. There was so much at major corporations, where they had to redo their applications. That kept employment full and unemployment down to zero there through that period. And then, of course, we had a little recessionary period, after that. But we were able to ride that growth, and thankful, for the timing.
Before we get into really about McLeod, take us back a little bit further. Like, what got you into the software side? I know how you said you kind of got into the truck, but what got you into liking it? Because I was a kid back in those days, but computers were, and applications wasn't even really thought of. So how did you get into that sector at such a quick, early time, I guess to say?
Well, when I got out of school, and by the way, I was a classical piano major
Oh,
in
wow.
college,
Wow.
which was a great thing to do. By the way, you never get that kind of time to develop that skill later, and I'm still
Yeah.
playing piano some today, but
That's awesome.
went into sales and, did that okay, but I wanted to do something more technical, and just great timing on, making that turn when the most businesses were putting in computers for the first time. There were really no applications. It was really greenfield. If I'd known what I was doing, we could have, gone much faster there at the beginning. But we've tried to be careful, keep our commitments, and that served us in good stead, as we, got started and grew. But, I was looking for an industry that, was of reasonable size that could support, a company as it grew. But also not so big that somebody like IBM or Microsoft would carve it out and make it difficult to compete. So trucking has been a great industry to serve. Thankfully, a lot of the things I was trying to do initially have panned out.
You've seen a lot of things. You've seen a lot of changes in the industry, like you just said. I'm curious on your thoughts on the new Supreme Court ruling. The shield is now gone for these brokers and really shippers. You work with a lot of brokers. If a broker negligently hires an unsafe carrier, somebody gets hurt, that broker can get hauled into court. Now you've got more brokers and 3PLs running on McLeod software, more than probably anybody. When that ruling dropped, what are you hearing from your customers?
Well, having a discussion on that recently, there's several states that really had that same requirement already for freight brokers, that you needed to have a process to vet and qualify the carrier ahead of time. And really all the Supreme Court said was, hey, you just don't get off scot-free because of this federal rule. You've got to have some internal process that shows you're taking the proper precautions. Knowing that some of the large brokers, not necessarily on our system, but took a number of carriers out of their database, shows you that the brokers kind of knew they might have been working with some carriers that were a little iffy. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. The trucking industry has suffered really for the last 4 years until this, first quarter of 2026. They were suffering with rates on the floor because of an overcapacity, and much of the overcapacity was caused by handing CDLs to drivers that weren't qualified. Carriers coming in from Mexico and just operating without having the proper authority to do so. Too many trucks on the road, and not a bad idea to up the safety standards, to get some of the bad actors out and get capacity to where it needs to be, get freight rates where they need to be to help the carriers and the brokers. Actually, the brokers thrive when there's tight capacity. They're the ones that have got the skills to locate the capacity. The shippers really have delegated or offloaded that task to the brokers, and it's a good thing as tight capacity points in the past, like in 2018 or 2021, showed us how that the carriers and the brokers really thrived and kept the freight moving. There's no freight sitting on the docks. Right. It's an efficient system. We think the carriers and the number of carriers that are out there, and including the function that the brokerage companies play, have really made the transportation system in the U.S. second to none, and really kind of our secret weapon of the economy.
So you've been building these broker tools every single day. You've got a big team. How does this change the way your software development team, if it does at all, how does this change what they're creating, what they're doing to help brokers with the tools they need?
Well, one of the things a note I made ahead of time was in looking at technology and the way that gets implemented. At a trucking company, all the technology you've got on the truck, in addition to the technology you've got in the office. And really, there's more technology and there's more changing on the truck than there is even in the office. You've got collision avoidance systems now. You've got all kinds of changes happening from a fuel economy standpoint. Certainly the regulations for emissions, all the stuff coming down the pike. And really, most trucking companies have got their best technology people looking at the truck, speccing the right truck, because they're spending millions and millions of dollars, on vehicles for their fleet. And they've got to work with, technology in the office, which is where we are. And really, what they need to do is more pervasive, and as the larger number of applications, keeping up with is the driver going to be on time? How do I reduce the empty miles? How can I get the driver home on time? A lot more to contend with than we do on the brokerage side. But our brokers, boy, they really push the envelope on the technology in the office, because that's all they've got. That's the only way they've got to distinguish themselves. To provide better visibility, more efficiency for the carriers they work for, more efficiency internally in terms of moving the freight. And so it's a different problem, a different task to be solved. So we've got specialized areas in these two markets that we serve. For the trucking company, help them maximize the use of the equipment. For the brokerage company, help them to maximize the benefit they can give to their trading partners. At the same time, price their loads correctly for the shipper as well as for the carrier, and help make the system run smoother.
It's not often that we get someone on the show that's got 40 years experience, especially on the technology side. Yeah, I know we'll talk to truck drivers and they'll talk about how that's changed on the road. But to a young professional, transportation professional out there that complains about how the technology is now and how things, because something might be an aggravating because it's something new. Explain to them how things used to operate and how all this technology that you and others have created has actually made their job so much easier.
It has enabled people that work there at the trucking company to do a lot more in less time, but it's still a job. It's still work. There's still information you've got to deal with. I made a note earlier that a lot of times technology implementation, and right now, you've got the AI applications coming in, but with almost any new technology, sometimes it's 2 steps forward and then 1 step back. When you get something that's new, but then you've got something new to learn, and you've got to stop doing it the old way. And when you do it a new way, it's not as efficient at first. You've got to figure it out. And some of these new technologies that are supposed to help actually can create more manual work. You know, the shippers thought it'd be a great idea. Hey, we'll get rid of EDI. You know, that's so time consuming to implement. We'll just put up a website and make all the carriers come to the website and manually update the information that we need. Well, that's fine for the shipper, but for the carrier, you know, you've just doubled or tripled my manual work I've got to do for every load that we haul for the shipper. So that happens, you know, really more often than it should. It gets worked out incrementally over time, but you know, technology for technology's sake is not really the answer. So
I agree with that a lot, and you know, it's no secret. I created ReadyApp, came from the trucking side, started it 2.5 years ago, and brought Justin in. We talk about it every time. I mean, we're more focused on the driver individually. It's a driver verified product, confirming the driver's identity, their CDL, their authority before anybody books a load. You spent 40 years on carrier and driver management software. You know, with this new ruling, we're getting a lot of attraction. We're talking to companies like Genlogs and even Truckstop and some other ones. Where do you see verification and vetting heading now that these courts have raised the stakes?
well, you know, we've got many integration partners for our platform. We handle the operation of the trucking company or the freight brokerage end to end, from order entry, planning and load assignment, freight billing, driver or payroll or carrier settlement, fuel tax, driver logs, general ledger, financial statements. But there's a lot that goes on outside, you know, the internal workings of a trucking company. So we have 150 integration partners that we work with and tie into their products and services, because our customers who are serving really a wide variety of markets. You know, we talk about trucking like it's just one big homogeneous market, but it's not. It's made up of a lot of little niche markets, and that's very challenging. That's one thing that's been a barrier to entry for many people looking at that market coming in. But what the need to further vet the drivers, the opportunity that creates is for many of our integration partners and for new partners that now can have more timely and better information on the drivers. You can get down to real-time validation, you know, of a driver's credentials. The carriers and the brokers are going to increasingly want that on a real-time basis as they're making carrier selection and load assignment. So yeah, it's all that will be a necessary enablement in order to take that safety check to the level where it needs to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's the next step in evolution. You just spoke on something, talking about how you work with 150 integrations and things. How important is that? That's one thing that I think that the trucking industry kind of is lack of. It's not of enough people working together and things flowing through a source. Okay, everything is so fragmented. You got this section over here, like you said, and this one over here, and then you don't have a lot of systems that will want to work with everybody. Explain how important that is working with those partners, because it makes your life easier. It gives you more opportunities to give to your customers. It just brings everything together.
Yeah, integration and getting the information is extremely important from an efficiency standpoint. And really, I can still remember a desk at a trucking company that didn't yet have a system, and was one of our original customers, but they had a desk that the operations people would come over to, and it had two great big CRTs on it. And one of them was the ComData terminal. And that's the way they would give the drivers advances. And so they had to come over and put in that information. The other terminal was a load board. It was had to be totally separate. You couldn't do both of them on the same terminal. So you could go to the load board and see if there might be a load available that you wanted to call about. And I knew I was about to put in order entry and billing system, but I realized, oh my goodness, once the information's in one system somewhere, it just needs to go automatically to whoever needs it, so they don't have to get up and go around to different terminals to do their job. And so incrementally, that's been happening over time. I mean, oh my goodness, in terms of advances and GPS positions and where the driver is on the map, and notification going back to the shipper that the load's going to be on time or not. All that connectivity is there. But because of there's such a wide variety of systems and the information's in different formats, it's still kind of messy. So that's part of our job, is to clean that up and again get the information where it needs to go, and that'll be an ongoing process. I mean, it's incrementally gotten better. At the same time, there's been more demand for information, and there's more information now available. So just being able to process that all. We're pedaling as fast as we can, Justin. We're looking to get there.
I understand.
But progress is being made. Yeah.
Well, you know how this industry is. Everybody wants everything yesterday. They don't realize how all that works. That's how it is with products, with software, and that. But you just said something, so it made me think of a question that I didn't have. But so you've been in business for around 40 years. You don't have to give me the name, but how old is your oldest customer? Like how long is that oldest customer? Have you had somebody from the beginning or in the first 5 to 10 years that's still with you?
I do have a few customers from the late 80s
Awesome.
running our system. A number of those companies have sold out or maybe closed their doors. Most of them, were able to sell or transfer. But yeah, we're really blessed with some customers that have stayed with us for a long time. As I said earlier, companies that have pushed us in the right direction, held our feet to the fire, when we needed that, and that's a real key to longevity as a company. But in most industries, companies are gonna come and go to some extent. But I like to say that the companies that run our product tend to be better managed companies. They were probably better managed companies before they got our system, but we're certainly working to give them the tools, to help them continue to compete in the marketplace and serve their customers better. And statistically, I think we could show that. So
those tools you're talking about have changed over the years, and now you've got AI all in the mix. What does it look like in the McLeod offices? What are you guys doing with AI to help your customers?
Yeah, AI is certainly the hot topic these days. Everybody wants to be known as the AI companies, So I'll just say, hey, we're the AI company. We're using it internally, and we're incorporating it into our product to help our customers. I will say it's helping to eliminate some of the manual work and drudgery that still is going on at trucking companies. Just like 40 years ago when we brought in the computer and it replaced the typewriters that were all over the place. People typing freight bills and people typing paychecks. We eliminated lots of manual work, made the trucking company a lot more efficient. And that's been the story, for 40 years, and now we're doing it through AI. Loads that may be coming in via email, we put those right into the system so that the operator doesn't have to sit there and key it in. When the trucking company gets a request for a rate quote, we automate the potential response that the operator can see. Here's the quote that's being requested. Here's a suggested rate based on where rates are today and which direction they seem to be moving in, and pickup date of the freight. And then we'll keep a record of it. Yeah. So, right now, things that are still having to be done manually at many sites, being able to automate that thanks to the power of the AI engine. Certainly, we're using it internally from a support standpoint. AI is also a big help from the programming, and we still got tons of programming we're working on for new releases. These trucking companies and brokerage companies are incredibly creative, and the stuff they come up
They
with,
they keep pushing you, huh?
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
I know. I just got pushed by a customer today and had to send a message to our development team, and it's
There you
something
go.
that's needed and new, and
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I love it.
yeah, yeah. Why would you want it without that? Yeah,
That's right.
Keep developing. That's right.
there you go.
Keep innovating.
Yeah.
Exactly. So speaking of AI and stuff, the big topic nowadays is autonomous trucks. How's that going to affect the trucking industry? How's it going to be? Everybody's got a different opinion. Is there going to be a driver in the truck? Is it going to be a
The trucks are gonna
truck
be
at all?
powered by McLeod. That's what
That's
they're
it.
gonna.
There you
Exactly.
go. Hey,
You saw that coming, didn't you?
powered by the AI company. There you go.
With your software, do you have to always be thinking about that part of the trucking industry of some things that y'all might have to try to come up with to help with that? Because it is coming at some point. What fashion or form, who knows what it'll end like and how long it even might last. I mean, it could get out here and have a couple major wrecks, and then everybody's like, hey, let's be buying some Peterbilts and Kenworths again. Let's get them on the road. So, how do you and your team think about that with, that coming in the future?
Well, I will say to start with, it's come a lot slower than I had thought that it would. Back in 2011, I got a car with some driver assist features, and I thought, hey, wow, by
Hmm.
2020, all the cars are going to drive themselves. And by that time, people will get confidence in the technology, and then the trucks will drive themselves. It's been, as you know, a much slower adoption. But we do see that as an important technology that will get rolled out. It's taken longer, and just because of the number of edge cases that there are, out in traffic, making the software smart enough. This AI is going to help solidify that finally. We're down to a handful of players, that are in the autonomous vehicle market. We're talking with all of them. We are integrated with Aurora.
We were just talking about Aurora, so explain Aurora to our listeners if you don't mind.
Well, they manufacture hardware, and then they develop software that will go on the truck and with their partners, which are International and Volvo, along with Torque, who's the Daimler partner, Kodiak, which also has equipment that go on the truck, plus AI, Bot Auto. There's a number of companies that have the software, and they're working on also the hardware that goes along with it to give the truck the necessary sensors for the autonomous technology to work. That's how the development is going. Most of these companies are pushing very hard because it's also slower than they thought it was going to be. But it'll get here one way or another, and we want to enable our carriers to be able to participate, to be able to add autonomous trucks to the fleet. And we're lining it up to be ready for when that happens, and help enable it.
I agree with you. It seems like we're taking one step forward and then two steps back, and I think it's for good reason. I think it's for safety. It's all changing. I mean, I think EX9 has automated trailers, and there's another one called it's like Bugsley or Bubbly. I can't remember the name of it, but it's an autonomous trailer, and where you basically don't even need the truck. Essentially, it's a flatbed, and it can hold flatbed equipment or
Kind of like a
container.
sled, kind of like
Yeah,
a
it's more like a
sled almost.
sled. Exactly. But I think for our drivers and carriers who are listening, they're really concerned about their job. And that seems to be they keep wanting to hear, and they hear different, you know, alternatives to what's going to happen every time they hear it. So what you're saying is we might not need one driver, we might need two drivers. And I think for at least the immediate future, for the next several years, I think it needs to be like an airplane where you've got a pilot who can take control, because what happens if something goes wrong? You're not talking about a car causing an accident, which is bad enough. You're talking about an 80,000 pound missile driving down the road. If it stops on the highway, what happens? And those are answers that I think we need. But, for the drivers, what do you say to them, who are like, this is gonna take my job away?
Technology has always been about improving productivity.
Mhm.
In 1901, 50% of the population lived and worked on a farm. Technology changed that. Now it's 3%. I don't think anybody wants to go back to that 1901
No, not this
statistic.
new
It was
generation.
it was gradual and it happened over time. And really, the autonomous technology is in a position to make the driver jobs better. Instead of having to be gone for 2 weeks at a time or a week at a time and work, be on duty 14 hours a day. The driver can be home every night or most nights. The longer haul runs can get handled by, an autonomous vehicle. The driver can, is staying closer to home. Really, they've got a better, better life, better job. And there's going to be time for this to transition. I mean, one projection I saw shows that by 2035, between 10 and 15% of the miles traveled might be autonomous. So it's not like it's going to flip overnight and in 3 years, no truck driving jobs. There's going to be truck driving jobs, for a long time. And I think there'll be better jobs.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've been saying for a while, I think the truck driver becomes more regional, where the drivers be in a region working, and it might even make it where it creates a new type of truck, something in between a box truck and a semi, where, an autonomous brings it to a warehouse, and then we have, smaller deliveries that are done by people that have to unload it themselves because you got to have somebody. I want to know after all these years, I mean, you can see me and John, you've done a heck of a job. You still have plenty of
He,
hair
he's
being
still
in.
got a lot more hair than we do.
Yeah, and you see us. The trucking industry can chew you up and spit you out. In any part of this industry, it's not the easiest industry to deal with, let alone for 40 years. What continues to motivate you after all these years to still, keep putting out software and helping companies? What motivates you?
Oh, I think that transportation and trucking, it's just been a wonderful industry to be a part of. The people are genuine. So many of the people running their transportation companies have a real dedication to their employees and to their customers and even their suppliers. So, I mean, we just have great friends in the industry and still plenty of room to run. Still plenty of companies to talk to. I always say if I was smarter, we would have done more by now, but we've still got things that we're doing and planning to do and, have the opportunity to do. And we just hope to, take advantage of the opportunity and continue to serve our customers well.
Well, Tom, I think you built a great company, and it's obvious. I mean, you've been around for
Absolutely.
a long time, and it's really impressive. As someone who's growing a technology company, it's really inspiring. But talk to those smaller carriers out there getting their start that are looking for a TMS option. Tell them why they should choose McLeod. What can you offer them?
Well, it is remarkable the things your shipper is asking you to do. They want you to deliver the information to them and make it available on just as timely and in the same way as the largest carriers that have access to all the technology there is. And we work with large carriers, but we also work with companies as small as 20, 25, 30 trucks would typically see the need for our product and what it can do, but just the ability to serve your customer with, whether it's EDI or web portal or shipment tracking, and then being able to have the visibility of your operation in order to make better decisions, having decision support at the right time so that you can grow without having to linearly add staff, which adds to your cost. But being able to compete on a level playing field from a technology standpoint and then being able to support growth in a cost-efficient manner, gives you tremendous payback. There's a owner of a trucking company that's fairly well known. He's actually an attorney by training. And I said, well, Two of the most expensive things I know: a cheap attorney and cheap software. Uh, if you
I like that.
if you don't have a tool that can get the job done, it's really costing you way more than
Yeah.
anything else. So obviously, great service has to go along with good products, and that's one of the reasons that we participate in the state and national associations, stay close to the issues that are affecting our customers, help make sure our development's moving in the right direction, and help make sure we're listening to our customers and getting the feedback we need in order to develop the next generation of software.
Awesome. Before we let you go, Tom, just tell our folks, if you can let us in on a little secret, what's got you fired up right now? 40 years in, what's McLeod building that got you as excited as starting it back in 85? Can you let us in on, can you give our listeners a little bit of news?
Well, we touched on the new things that are happening. The AI certainly continues to evolve. So that, is very much a, real thing that's happening, unlike blockchain, which a few years ago, made a splash, but nothing really happened. AI is happening, I'll just tell you. And the autonomous is, to me, the big rock coming down the road that's going to create opportunity. And that's one thing I like to say, disruption creates opportunity. And to those that are prepared and are willing to, step into the new opportunities that get created when one technology or one method of doing things is disrupted, along comes something new, be on the leading edge with the new stuff.
Awesome. Well, Justin, you want to take us out and thank our sponsors?
Yeah, this episode is brought to you by Gray Cross. That's graycross.org. Gray Cross exists to support trucking families during the life's toughest moments, whether it's a medical emergency, financial hardship, or unexpected crisis like a loss of life. We lose around 13,000 drivers a year on the road. Gray Cross is committed to helping the people who keep America moving. I say this on every show, but I do truly mean it. Everybody go to the website, check out their page, see what they're about. It's a good cause. They take care of real families who take care of you, even if you don't realize it. Truck drivers taking care of something that you use daily. So just go check it out. $1, $5, any amount is appreciated, even if you just share the page and tell somebody about it. I know they would appreciate that. And then also today's episode is brought to you by ReadyApp. ReadyApp is helping modernize transportation through verified driver profiles. Drivers, go check that out. It's digital. That's where you need to be in this time of the world. You'll be able to share that with carriers, brokers, DOT officers, insurance agents, anybody that needs any of the documents that you carry to run your business as a truck driver. You can share it in moments. It's just the future of transportation. Trends depends on trusted data, connected systems, and verified identities, and ReadyApp's there to help with the future. So go check that out. That's ready-app.com.
Tom McLeod, founder, president, and CEO of McLeod Software, served 40 years building the backbone of this industry, and you're still pushing forward. And you got a great head of hair. This was a genuine honor. The door is always open here Behind the Wheelhouse. Please come back anytime.
Yeah, we appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
Everybody drive safe out there. Listen, subscribe. We look forward to seeing you on Behind the Wheelhouse next time.